How's it going, everybody? It's Barry with Vulcan Glass Art Studio. Today's going to be the third project in our Intro to Marbles series, the Flower Compression Marble. As always, all of the glass and tools that you need for this project are going to be on screen. So, like the video, hit that subscribe button, and let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you're doing your implosion flower is you're going to pull the petal color, which for me was white, and the leaf color, which should usually be green. And you want to pull down some stringers. We covered that in a previous video, so I just did that ahead of time. Now, you want to take your 12mm clear rod, and you want to go ahead and gather up a pretty large gather. This marble is going to basically be roughly the size of whatever your initial gather is, so make sure that it's a pretty decent size. You want to make sure that it stays really even on your handle though, so that in the next step when we smush it down into a disc, your hand will be nice and centered in the disc. It'll make your life a lot easier for the rest of the entire marble. So when you're trying to do large gathers, kind of focusing on where the thick meets the thin, and then holding in that downward angle, like we've discussed before, will help you gather up your glass nice and evenly without it starting to wobble or do anything crazy. That's probably pretty good. See a fairly large chunk of glass. Get it nice and hot, take your smusher. You're going to press this face down like you do on your Monet bead, if you've seen that video. And then I'm going to actually this time smush around the bead to kind of get that disc pushed out and thin. So the push, and you can actually set that on your angle marker to get it nice and straight. The push needs to go all the way down, and it'll actually create kind of a cup, and then when you smush it down, it smushes that cup into a flat disc. So you have your disc, flat on the back too. Alright, so first, you're going to place the accent colors of your flower. I chose cobalt blue, and you're going to put them in a pattern that would be like a pentagram. If you connect the lines. So, dot, dot. You want to put them fairly far apart, so you have a nice big flower in your final project, or final marble. Okay? So you got 5 dots. Now, you're going to take your petal color, which again for me was white, and connect them. You want both the dots and the petal to be nice and hot when you do this, but go real slow. When you hit each one, angle it, angle it. So now you got it connected. At any point in the project, feel free to just reheat things every once in a while. That'll help keep your glass nice and happy. Now that we have the outside defined, we're going to go ahead and take our color that's going to be our pistons. And for me, that's a striking red, probably Red Elvis. And put a few dots in the center. Like that. And then take your leaf color, go all the way to the edge of your disc, and kind of do squiggly lines. some space between each leaf. So you don't actually have to leave very much space if you don't want to. I'm leaving a little bit more on this one. Okay, so now we're going to start the process of imploding this. So first what you want to do is just heat the whole thing up and get that color that you laid down to melt into your disc. You can stamp it, but it's best if you at least get it reasonably sunk in before you try stamping it, because you don't want to alter the patterns that you've laid down too much at this point. Now see how I'm focusing my heat on in and the bottom ridge. That's what you want to do. Either bottom ridge or top of the inside of your disc. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get it to create a cup. So it's pretty much melted in. I just did that to get rid of any extra texture. And now we're going to be heating the top inside of our disc. And as I was saying, what you're looking for is kind of a cup. The outer rim of your disc is going to droop more than the inside. And so as that happens, you're going to let it droop and then you're going to press it, and it causes the color that you laid down to kind of go in and push out. Bit of a cup. Once it gets pretty deep, you're going to go ahead and take it over to the marber. And you don't want to change anything, so just press slightly. And all you're trying to do is to get that to be flat again. And we're going to do this a couple more times. And you will start to see the color sink into the center of the piece and the clear to encase it. And the trick here is really just to let it soak in that heat. Keep it in the exact same position, let it do its thing. Don't be afraid of it getting too hot. It's not possible. You just want this thing to soak up as much heat as you possibly can, and then when you start to see that cup form, press it on the marber again. And you can see the pattern is starting to slowly sink into the center, and it's also starting to go into the clear glass, so that it's beginning to gain its three-dimensional look. So now that I've gotten it pressed in a couple times, I actually want to shrink down the size or the diameter of my disc. So I'm focusing my heat more on the edge and less on the inside cup like I was before. And I'm letting it kind of drag its way down to a marble a little bit more. I'm still going to press, but this next time that I press, I'm only trying to flatten the bottom half and leaving the top dome of the disc kind of alone. It'll still get moved, but I want it to get moved less. Alright, so it's like that, a little bit smaller, a little bit of a cup. Now see how that time it didn't go all the way back to being the handle inside the cup on the top of the disc. I want to do that a couple times. And that will help also make sure that my flower shows up but doesn't get crazy deformed. Because you want those stringers of color that you laid down to stay nice and crisp. This technique will take a lot of practice. Some artists can do this style of marble to the exclusion of all else, and they become absolutely insane at it. You can put little people in there and stuff. Alright, so it's starting to droop down. Press down the marber again. And now the leaves have, you can see, I don't know if you can see the camera, probably not, but you can see when you're working it, the leaves have started to gain their three-dimensional characteristic. Once that happens, and you have all the color kind of in the center there, you want to heat it and drag it down one more time, and then we're going to actually pull the rest of the pattern out so that all the color will be on the inside of the glass and there'll be no color touching the outside of the glass. So for that, you can pretty evenly heat the bottom of the disc and bounce between the side of the disc and the bottom, keeping it at a slight downward angle, the whole piece, and that will help it drag itself down. And then if you focus your heat on the inside of that cup area, when it comes time to pluck it out, it'll be nice and hot and it'll pop right out without taking a whole bunch of junk with it. Alright, so now, got a little itty bitty cup. Heat that. I go down to a pin flame and focus it just on the inside of that cup. Take a piece of 4mm clear rod, and once it is nice and hot, you're going to reach into the center and then pull it out. Reach into the center, pull it out. You don't want to pull it very far. Now when you heat this, you can see, you probably can't, but when you're working you'll be able to, there's a difference between the outside color, the color that's on the outside of the glass, and color that's on the inside of the glass. You want to make sure that all of the color that's on the outside of the glass gets pulled away. So you just kind of keep teasing that 4mm and grabbing more and more until it's gone. Now it's not much of a marble, but all the color is on the inside of the clear. So now you're going to heat the whole thing up, and we go to our favorite tool, marble mold. Focus your heat a little bit on the back, let that gather into your piece. See how it's kind of gathering in there? Once it's pretty smooth and it doesn't look like you have a knob on the end of your marble, I'm going to go into the mold. This one's a little bit smaller, so I'm actually going to skip the large guy and move to the second largest. And just kind of slowly work it around to get it down to kind of a marble shape. And just like in every other marble, we'll move one size down. Rotate it. This one is just on the edge of this larger one, so I'm actually going to add a little bit of glass to it to size it up. So to do that, it's just the next step in the process. You can go ahead and add a handle to the bottom, doing a cold seal, and then melt this off. If your marble is the correct size, melt it all the way close to where the connection point is. This one's a little bit smaller than I want, so I'm going to move a little bit farther up and remove it a little higher, so it's going to leave some glass behind, like that. And then I'm going to melt that into the marble itself. You don't want to do too much of this, because if you do too much it'll flatten your flower out, but a little bit like this isn't going to make any difference. So melt it down. Focus on where the curve is. That's where you want to be focusing your heat. And once that curve has smoothed out, so it's looking like that, you can go ahead and put it in the mold. And you can see now it's the proper size for that mold. pattern. The red hasn't shown up, that'll show up in the kiln. You can kind of see it. That is why I put pictures at the end of these videos. Alright, so now we're going to change the angle. Run it through the flame one more time, and then run it through the mold. And that spot where you pulled the color out, make sure you hit that really well, because that's going to be your spot that's going to have a bump or something if anywhere is. Alright. So now we're going to take it off the large rod, put it onto a small 4mm. Make sure the piece gets nice and cool. Then make sure your rod cools down. Touch the two, tap while it's still warm. This one, if it's not totally on center, which it's not in this one, it doesn't matter a whole lot. Just be a little bit more careful when you're rolling it around in the marble mold. Hit it with the flame one last time. Get rid of any creases that were left over. Let it cool down. And then, just like the others, set it in the cup. Tap, tap. Find the crease that's left over. Heat that crease and the spot around it. And there's your marble. Toss it in the kiln, and you're on to the next one. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoy the content, like the video, hit that subscribe button, and then if you want to support the channel further, check us out on Patreon at Vulcan Glass TV. I'll see you in the next one.